Hello YouTube, I'm coming back at you guys with a second video today. The first one was on creation, or rather creativity, and this one's going to be on connection to the feminine. And it's going to be about more so connection to the inner feminine, but you'll see how that manifests into connecting with the outer feminine and with women in your life in general. So this is going to be my first time speaking about the topic. I'm not so much going to start on like how can you connect with your inner feminine, but more so like the very necessity of that connection in the first place. And so a little history lesson. Men used to control this world, and I think that if you look at how people relate to the feminine, both men and women, they relate to it in the modern world based on that supposition. They understand that historically speaking, women did not have a voice in the material world, in the political, and oftentimes that was also a reflection of the household structure, where men were in control. And this obviously set up a gender dynamic where men were not considered feeling beings. They were considered about action, logic, and obviously women were considered as only caretakers, and people were defined by these gender roles. Now, obviously, in the 21st century, and towards the later ends of the second half of the 20th century, that started to break. Freedom became the prime virtue of expression, and relationships were more based on equality and a sort of equalization of those gender roles. And I think for people who are coming from more traditional backgrounds, who were coming, whether they be religious or whether they be societal or cultural, they were caught in sort of the rift between those two, like undulating forces, the past and the sort of traditional notions of masculinity and femininity, and the freedom of modern society. And speaking a little bit about my own personal experience, coming from a much more traditional household, having to integrate the new structure necessary to incorporate inner feminine force, and be able to embody that, so that I can actually be in tandem and have a dance with women and that force in the world is a very difficult one, mainly because you don't see that in the house. You don't see that as you grow up, so you go many years without it. Now, society does its best to present that to you if you're growing up in a Western society. It may not be a full picture of the feminine, but you get glimpses of it, right? Like a woman as your teacher in elementary school. That's very common for most people in American society and across the world, actually. So you do get glimpses of the feminine, and these glimpses actually become a part of your inner world. They become a part of how you associate to feminine forces. And I think it's very important to put things in this context, because once you're able to identify, like, oh, there's a positive image of femininity, you can begin to grasp onto that and relate to that in the outside world, in your inner world. But I want to get back to basically why this is necessary. Like, what is the basis of the structure? Well, structure actually will form the basis of where you're headed in your life, right? Like, if you set a dynamic between you and something else, now you have this sort of path that you follow. So I've said it many times before, but if I said, hey, I'm going to head to the end of this road, that is the direction that I follow. Well, if you set the dynamic or the structure between you and the feminine as the traditional notion of patriarchy, right? That is going to be the path that you follow. Now you can ask yourself, okay, well, where does that path lead to? And if you have any experience with Middle Eastern cultures, or any reading upon history, you understand that that's a dead end, and you can see pretty quickly why. On a societal level, it means that women aren't fully integrated into the workforce. It means that there's less of a spiritual bond because the relationship is less androgynous, and you end up running into like a very split household where the man is one thing and the woman is one thing, and the relating power between the two is very limited. So you can see the problems that are imbued in that. You can also see the problems imbued in having more freedom in a more androgynous relationship, because if it's so loose that you begin to lose the polarity and the nature of the attraction between the two forces, now you also have a problem. So it's about really integrating and differentiating, right? It's about being able to provide containment and structure for the feminine and allow her the freedom to be in tune with her nature, while still maintaining like a masculine stance. And this all gets back again to the beginning of why I set this out. The importance of this work is predicated on the structure. And the structure here that I'm alluding to, and that I would hope that most men are trying to form in their lives, isn't a structure that is predicated on the past of control, right? And this is the patriarchal misogynist notion that I have to control my woman, right? But the structure that I'm setting out here is, it's going to be one of freedom. And freedom entails not utter and complete anarchy, right? It's not the opposite of control, right? The opposite of control is looseness. And the opposite of control is no containment, right? But freedom entails that the man orients himself towards the feminine force, right? So we're talking about orientation here. There's a very different thing between saying, hey, in the control environment, the structure that the man has set up is a masculine structure where he controls everything and he sets the boundaries, and she must stay attuned to that, right? And there's a big difference between that and a structure that says, hey, I am here to serve, right? She grants me the life energy. She grants me the forces of creation. She bestows upon me, right, her force and energy, and as a result, right, I am here to provide for her the safety necessary for her to feel that she can trust me and endow me with that, right? And so the man becomes more oriented towards the feminine as a result. And I think this is very important because it's not, if you grew up in a traditional circumstance or a traditional culture, or you have an old antiquated notion of masculinity, this is not the way that more primitive societies related to feminine energy. With the exception of matriarchal societies, well, obviously that's not the majority of Western and also Middle Eastern societies. So those are some notes that I'm going to leave you guys with. I hope that was helpful for anybody who was struggling with this and curious as to, like, well, what position do I need to take towards towards women in my life, or the inner feminine. And I think the beginning of that is going to be really this idea of structure, and starting to sort of loosen, right, these ideas of control, allowing space for the feminine to express herself, and finding ways that you can harvest while containing that energy and allowing her to feel safe. And I know those are very vague terms, but I am hoping to make a playlist about this theme and go into more depth of my ideas and how that could, how there could be some more objective ways of doing that. Thank you guys for listening. I'll be back with some more videos in the near future.